Alright, so I'm making this video because I looked around a lot when I was trying to fix this thing, and I couldn't find any information out there about just DC welding on cast cases. And doing this, of course, as cheap as possible with this Chinese cheap Amico power piece here. It's running on 74 amps. And usually you see things about using helium gas, everything else with here. I'm honestly over here just using a 1/8 electrode and just using regular TIG gas, argon 100%. And honestly, it's been working pretty decently here. Cast is somewhat hard to work with, but, and I mean, I'm by no means good at this at all. I'm a completely fucking terrible welder, but I mean, I'm trying it out on some aluminum pieces here, and was decently successful on a few beads. I mean, they're not pretty at all, but the penetration is really decently nice. As you can see, it's actually going through, well, most places, I guess, but terrible camera work here. I'm trying to work this at the same time with the cell phone, but it worked pretty well. And you can see here, I actually tried using a trick I saw somewhere else, was the Aluminarc, let's see, 4043 stick electrodes, which have the flux on them. And sorry for the camera working again, it's terrible again. But they actually didn't do all that great. I've seen people say you can use these if you're in a pinch with a DC welder. They kind of sucked. So honestly, you had to clean a bunch of slag. Slag was fucking terrible to get off of there. But honestly, it worked way better on these two just using some shitty Harbor Freight. Let's see, 330 seconds Vulcan stuff. Works perfect, honestly. So for anything that I'd be using, I just recommend this. You don't have to clean anything. You don't have to go through anything. You just do 1 or 2 passes, and of course, it's gonna look terrible. But it should work. And basically, I had gone through here and filled a few spots because this has been, you know, pretty much destroyed there. And this was my first attempt on the other side. So basically just fixing my own fuck up at this point. I overheated it, and of course this is the first time welding aluminum with a TIG, and I was looking for a pool. I didn't see a pool form, so I melted it. So be prepared for that. You're really not gonna see a pool form. You're really just gonna put a little bit of heat onto it and start adding filler and do pretty much a weave motion to melt the filler into it, so you can avoid doing that. It actually melted concavely down, and that was the first try. This is after I messed around with aluminum for a while and filled it in and then ground it down. So we'll make a few passes with the filler and see what happens. And of course, go ahead and grind everything down using grinder. And just make some terrible welds, but they will hold. And this is for people who just need a cheap repair for a cheap part. And this will be the end game here, a 2012 RMZ 250 case that has the common break issue all the way down. It cracked all the way down to the cases right there. So we'll see if we can fix that at the same time. So hopefully this works. And also, a lot of people say when you're welding aluminum with the 1/8, it's gonna ball up on the ends of your tungsten there. And just to save you some time so you're not grinding it 24/7, all you really need to do is after you dip it or get a no start or something like that, just hit the tungsten with the wire wheel real quick. And then it'll start arcs much easier. So I'll try this and show you a couple of techniques and see if it also, again, forgot to show what CFM I'm using pretty much. Just for reference, we're doing about just right on 20 there, right at that spot. So just in case you need that. Okay, so I just went through to try to fill this up a little bit and just to describe the kind of difficulties you'll have when you're running the DC TIG. So basically, you can see there, I'm not trying to make any bead or anything. I'm just filling as it is. And it's really different than when you're doing steel, when you can actually see the puddle and everything. Basically, you can't see a puddle at all. All you're gonna see is basically, it's gonna form almost a skin or a film over the top of it once you're adding filler in there. So you'll be able to see the filler right here, but you won't see the filler melt. it'll be basically a film over top of it, and you can push the filler into it, and it will basically balloon this entire glob here will balloon as you push the filler in. So as long as you keep it near the blob, I guess that's the puddle for now, and keep pushing it in, you could make a nice bead. But of course, as you saw beforehand, this was cratered. I'm literally just filling as much filler material in here as I can before I grind it down to repair it. But basically try to keep the electrode on, so just preheat the spot you want to fill into, and then after that, try to keep as much heat as you can on the actual filler rod itself, and just inflate the bubble as you move. And I guess this is the easiest way I can describe it, because it's very odd compared to steel if I had an actual camera that I could show you with here, but this camera sucks. But I'll try to actually get the welding done sitting behind that that welding mask there, but we'll see. Okay, so basically just a final update here. Just a very quick repair, really just not my best work at all, but it still works. It's very solid. As you saw before, it was completely destroyed pretty much, unusable pinholes everywhere. This was very solid. Penetration was great. As you can see, very thick. It actually melted through to the bottom, so I refinished up the bottom as well. And my metal work is not the best, as you can tell. Grinder marks are everywhere over there. But if you need it in a pinch with a DC TIG, literally an eBay TIG, for $226, I think I spent on a TIG 200 Amico Power that does both, and I think I pumped the amps up to 82. So yeah, it does both stick and TIG welding, pretty decent. And we're running about 20 CFM over there using Harbor Freight filler, and it worked really decently well. So basically just got to weld a bead on the top here and kind of machine that out to get it flat surface as best as I can, and we basically have a repaired case there. It would be really easy just when you're in a pinch to do this, and basically just, again, emphasizing this is by no means beautiful of a repair, but it's for somebody who only has a quick budget of maybe like $200-300 for a welder and works with power sports a lot. And it is a very efficient way to, you know, do a repair. And you can, again, you can make it as beautiful as you want if you have good machine skills, but I was just using a carbide burr real quick and a cut wheel down there, or a grinding wheel. And honestly, another thing too, a lot of people say that you have to focus on cleaning as much as possible on aluminum, and honestly, they're right. It's the best thing to do. But as far as I saw, just running across it with this guy here really just gave me all I needed. So basically, it's successful. It's possible. And I just wanted to show it was possible, because everywhere I look beforehand says, hey, don't do it. But really, all you need is a TIG setup, 1/8-inch tungsten, and yeah, you're good to go. So I'll see if I can catch some welding on tape. It's not gonna be beautiful, but it'll be something.